Question time. What are my thoughts regarding Israel Gaza War? Let me give you a Christian response regarding that. It is a very difficult one because obviously what you do notice in our society today is that people have taken sides on this issue. It is a hot, buzzing topic, and many have taken sides, and that's not always the healthiest thing to do, because both sides are holding on to false information about each other's camp. But I'll do the best in these next short videos just to give what are my thoughts regarding that as a Christian. Well, I believe that Romans chapter 13 is to start with. Romans chapter 13 actually gives us, the Apostle Paul is giving us a lesson on where the government really came from. Why is there a government? Why is there military establishing a sovereign nation? Well, the role of the government, according to Romans 13, is to actually serve the people who live, serve the citizens. And the way that the government serves the citizens, now I said serve, not dictate, not to terrorize its citizens, like some governments did regarding COVID-19. The government's role in Romans 13 is to protect, to preserve, to promote justice, righteousness, and peace in a nation, in a sovereign nation. And that's why God has established what we know as the government which has the power to also overthrow evil if it comes. And this is God's ordinance. Now, that government doesn't need to be a Christian institution, but who puts the people in charge, and who puts the people in charge to be governing that nation is actually God, who has established it, So the other question is, well, what would you expect Cyprus to do if Hamas or another terrorist organization was to come and attack the island? And then not just attack, but gunshot and kill and capture people and hold them as hostages in order to get money from American soldiers or American politicians in order for these people to be saved. What would you expect your government to do? Well, obviously, as the way that God has ordained the government to be, God's will is really for the government to protect, to preserve, to promote justice, righteousness, and peace. And that means also to find ways to reduce any other casualties. So it is a just and sovereign way for a government or a nation to respond to these terrorists if they attack Cyprus with attacking the terrorists and catching them and then bringing justice basically to that. Now, that would be a just reason for a nation to react to. And so on this issue regarding who is responsible for the Gaza war, Israel as a sovereign nation are within their rights to act the way they did with Hamas. And let me be clear that their military campaign, well, let's just put it this way, I don't think it's just a campaign, it's actually a response to the massacre, one of the worst massacres, which Al Jazeera News actually said that the massacres that happened on the 7th of October last year were the worst ever in Israel's history. Do you know what massacre we're talking about? We're talking about the massacre that started the whole war. It was the massacre which started at the Nova Music Festival, it was called, if I remember correctly, where about 1,200 people were killed and gunshot because Hamas deliberately and diabolically went and attacked. They had no warrant, they had no justifications for the reason why they have attacked. Hamas are the terrorist organization which are registered and known as a terrorist organization. They have attacked places in the United States, in Britain and other European Western countries. So it's pretty known to the world that Hamas are terrorists. Hamas follow, based upon their false religion, Islam, which desires really to destroy the Western civilization as we know. So here's the thing. So they're not really reducing the casualties, they're increasing the casualties. I'm talking about Hamas. Israel, on the other hand, have a tricky situation. On the first hand, they want to respond and bring justice to these criminals, these warlords, these warmongers, Hamas. So they attack. They attack because they have done this to they've done this, the Hamas, they killed innocent people. So Israel rightly responded. But the problem is that Hamas, they are not, let's say, fighting somewhere where there's no civilians. They actually go into civilian areas in Gaza. They put their weapons in hospitals, in mosques, as the latest reports have come through. And they are putting their own people in danger. They are using their people as human shields. Now, is that not diabolical? Is that not evil and wicked for them to do? If they really cared for the people that they are supporting, then why would they even risk other people's lives? Why would they do that? You know, so you got to see. It comes down to the question, you know, who is deliberately trying to reduce the casualties, and who's at the same time trying to bring justice and trying to destroy Hamas once and for all. Because here's the thing, it's a tricky thing for a nation, because if Israel ceasefire, they will be attacked by Hamas and they will be genocide. Basically, they will all be killed, because Hamas don't want to live with Israel at all, and they don't want them to exist, basically. That's the message that the Hamas movement are giving to the Palestinians, but they're also giving to the rest of the world. We don't like Israel, we don't want them to exist, they shouldn't be there. They want to they say they want to regain a land, but that's another politic regarding that. So, in Israel, the only way that this will stop is that Hamas was just be put away. And once Hamas is put away, then there wouldn't be any wars, there wouldn't be any of this protest of the pro-Palestinians that we are seeing. There wouldn't be any killing of children or anything like that. And that's why the emphasis has to be on Israel's reactions are just as a nation, but there are complications on how to achieve peace and how to achieve what is righteous, what a nation must sovereignly do, because it is called to serve its citizens, and Israel are being responsible for doing that. Now, the method on how they're doing it is not an easy one, you know, because like I said, there are casualties on both decisions. You know, if Israel go and attack the enemy, there's bound to be casualties, you know, and that's just the nature of war, really. And it's a sad thing, and we don't condone it, but that's really the nature of our world and war, and that's sadly what a fallen world has. But at the same time, as Israel does not respond, then there's going to be more casualties, in the sense that the casualties will come from Israel's side, and Israel's people will be killed ruthlessly, as the videos obviously from the music festival and the reports have happened there by that attack was ruthless, and there was no justification for that. The other question to consider is which of the nations have actually proceeded for a peaceful treaty, a peaceful diplomatic talks, you know. Well, we go back to 2020, where the Abraham Accords took place. The Abraham Accords was basically Israel and all the other Arab countries, you know, being helped by the United States to make a peace agreement with all the other Arab nations, so they can preserve peace and promote righteousness in the Middle East. Now, Morocco accepted, Libya accepted, Bahrain accepted, United UAE accepted as well. This treaty is in 2020. Israel accepted it. The only ones that have not accepted it were the Palestinian leaders of Palestine. And this is no surprise during the fact that in 2006, the Palestinian people, this is a legitimate formal fact, that the Palestinians actually being manipulated by Hamas, they voted the Hamas leaders to be their governing leaders, basically. So, and that's the sad story of the Palestinians, and that's the sadness that I feel for those in Palestine, is because they are being used by Hamas. They're being used for Hamas to get their own way, and that is terrible. That is evil. That is so evil. So that's my first response and my first thoughts about the Israeli Gaza war. I hope that's informative. I hope that's good, and I hope it just kind of helps you to understand the situation and the context behind things. As much as I know, really, I'm not really the great expert here, but I know there's others are. But yeah.